Ready?
Good evening. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. It is May 28th at 7:20 p.m. And here is your board president, Shelley Ryan.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Choi. And thank you for all of you guys for coming here. And we are running a few minutes late, but we rushed it so that you guys can start. It is 7:18. All right. There is nothing to report from closed session. The regular open session now will begin at 7:18. I'd like to call to order Mrs. Lamb. Oh, not here. Okay, she's coming. Mrs. Chong? Here. Mr. Chang?
Here.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. We have quorum. Take your time. All right. Mrs. Lamb, I apologize. I started roll call. So Mrs. Lamb? Here. Mrs. Gill? Here. And so roll call is complete. Dr. Lena Richter, would you please introduce our student who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, President Ryan. It would be my pleasure. Tonight, we have the distinct honor of welcoming Melody Kwan, a fifth grade pioneer from Carver Elementary School, to lead the board in the salute to the flag. Melody, would you like to come up and share a little bit about yourself? And you may invite guests that you have here with you. And when you're ready, lead the Board of Education in the salute to the flag. Welcome. And thank you for being here.
It's an honor. Good evening, Superintendent De La Torre, distinguished board members, and those in attendance. My name is Melody Kwan, and I'm a fifth grade pioneer at Carver Elementary. It's an extreme honor to be standing here today. The school year is ending soon, and I'm honored to inform you about all the wonderful things that make the school year the best. Let's start with the Carver Carnival. The Carver Carnival was certainly successful. Lots of kids had fun, and we even had some Huntington Middle School visitors. The PTA and some parent volunteers helped manage the games and ticket booth. This is one of the reasons why we had a successful carnival. In addition, we also had some volunteers from San Marino High School. They were of great help as they were a helping hand for the PTA. Overall, we had the most wonderful carnival ever, and I think that many students enjoyed it. This year was also special for the fifth graders as well. Last week, we were getting ready for Famous American Day. The fifth graders have been preparing for this by performing their speeches in the classroom. We also had to dress up as our famous American. 2 weeks prior, many of our fifth graders were writing their speeches and performing their speeches in their classrooms. They spent at least 2 weeks on this project because it is one of the highlights of fifth grade. I represented the notorious RBG, and I had so much fun researching about her and dressing up as her. At Carver, we have a speech program, a notable book program, and even an amazing student council. My teacher, Mrs. Travisano, has taught me so many skills that make my first year exceptional. I've learned how to be kind, compassionate, and an amazing leader to all. Speaking of fifth graders, this week is our promotion week. Last Monday, the fifth graders had received their awards and trophies for our speech program and notable book program. Now, we are getting ready to become HMS Foxes. Tomorrow is Carver's big fifth grade promotion. We look forward to celebrating our accomplishments and ending this year strong. Later, after a promotion, the San Marino High School seniors are coming back to the halls of Carver for one more walk in their elementary halls. I love how our schools celebrate each other. Like I mentioned in the beginning, this school year was one of the best. Although I haven't been at Carver my whole life, when I first came, Carver welcomed me with open arms. This is my first year, and I will never forget the school year. I can't wait to become a Huntington Fox and later a San Marino Titan. Today, as I welcome you to the award-winning San Marino Unified School District Board meeting, I would like to pay respect to our country and our flag. Please join us as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand quietly and respectfully. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Melody, you did an outstanding job. We are so proud of you. We have a certificate of appreciation that we would like to present to you. And we'd like to take a photograph with you. Take the Board of Education over here.
Thank you, Dr. Richter. Next, I need approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as read?
Move to approve.
Second. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mrs. Chon. Roll call, Mrs. Lamb.
That was Mrs.
That was me seconding.
Oh,
but
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye, yes.
Okay, Mrs. Lamb second. And so roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chon,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and the motion is approved for the agenda. Approval of minutes, Board of Education meeting minutes, May 14th, 2024.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mrs. John. Oh, go
Second.
ahead, Mr.
There's a typo.
Oh,
Mhm.
I try to make a change.
okay, I missed it.
So in the, I think number 9. So there's a student preferential vote. Yeah. So it's one.
Prefer,
So
yeah.
I mentioned. Yeah.
She's correcting
okay.
it. Thank you, Mr. Chang. So there's a motion from Mrs. Chong and Mrs. Lamb, not as read, but as, corrected. All right.
With the amendment.
Pardon me?
Move to approve with the revision.
Second.
Yes, thank you. And so with that roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. The motion has been approved for the Board of Education meeting minutes for May 14th. San Marino Unified School District Spotlight. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Scott Barton to recognize the San Marino High School robotics team. Mr. Barton, come on in. Come on in, Scott.
Yeah.
Mhm. This evening, the Board of Education will recognize the San Marino High School robotics team for their exceptionally successful season and for their participation in the National World Championship. We have with us Scott Barton and is Dr. Wolf here? Dr. Wolf?
We like that.
Okay, so first of all, President Ryan, thank you. School board, thank you. Superintendent De La Torre, Executive Cabinet. I just want to say thank you for your support over the last 17 years that I've done this. Thank you for your financial support, getting us to Worlds, and I really appreciate that. And so tonight, what we're going to have is some of our last year's team leadership and some of our next year's team leadership, take you through some of the things that we accomplished this year. We also have the robot ready to bring out into a slight short demo for you.
Yes.
Guys, you can bring it out whenever you want. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Gavin Morris and Sean Trisnati.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Trisnati, and I'm going to be next year's business president. So we are a part of an organization called FIRST, or more specifically, FIRST Robotics Competition. In this organization, we compete in 2 regional competitions every year where we meet teams all throughout the world and we're able to compete with them and see tons of other robots from many different teams. Our team is Team 1160, Titanium Robotics.
Oh.
Watch your
Oh.
toes, everyone.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Yeah, you got it. I know. It's like, wait.
Okay, so of course, in robotics, engineering is a large part of it, but not, on top of that is also the business side. So a lot of the things that we do on the business side, are up on the slides. Our first thing is branding. As you can see from all our team members here, branding is a large part of our team. Every single year, we rebrand our apparel to match the game's theme. This year it was Crescendo, so you can see from this team year's apparel, we have like a music theme to it. Additionally from that, we also have the World's merch, which we created after our participation in the World Championships. One of our largest events that we hold in the school is called Pinktober, which we hold in the month of October. This is to provide awareness to breast cancer awareness. So we completely rebrand our team, as well. We also have a large mural that we hang up in the school, and we also hand out ribbons to teachers, students, and faculty all around our school. Additionally, from this is also our mentoring. We do FLL mentoring at Carver School, and we help them throughout their season. And this year, they're actually able to win the Innovation Award. Additionally, we also help out with or we run a summer school camp program where we mentor incoming high schoolers to everything about the team, everything about FIRST, and we really introduce them to STEM in general. Last is our fundraisers. One of the largest fundraisers that we have in our school is called a movie night, where we partner with this nonprofit organization called Camp Del Corazon. They are dedicated to bringing summer camp to children with heart disease. And through this movie night, we're able to raise a ton of money to help with the tuition of students there.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gavin Morris. I'm this year's engineering president, and I'll talk to you a little bit about our build season and our competition season. So on the screen right now, you see a couple pictures from our build season, which is 6 weeks long and starts at the beginning of January. So right when we get back from winter break, where we are presented with a game manual and a completely new game, along with a video of it, basically explaining the new challenge for the year. To sum up this year's challenge, it was basically a game where you had orange rings, which are over there, and you had to pick them up like you saw a robot do, and then shoot them into a hood that's about 6 feet tall. So during our build season, we basically start from nothing. We read the game manual, we watch the game video, and we come up with all sorts of designs during our prototyping phase, and then eventually deciding on a final design, which we model on the computer, and then we build and fabricate in-house at the high school. And then after that, after those 6 weeks, there are 6 weeks of competition, and then some of the awards we got are listed here. So at our Los Angeles regional, we won the Team Sustainability Award, which is for environmental sustainability and also team sustainability with our documentation and making sure we pass on all our knowledge. And then at our second regional of the year, our East Bay regional up in Berkeley, we won the event, which was our first regional we've won in our team's history. And then because of winning, we were awarded a wild card, which was an invitation for the World Championships. So up here is a picture of our robot. Its name is Motif. A little background about that name. Basically, the way we try to name our robots is there's two criteria. One is that there's a TI in there, as you can see, because we are Titanium Robotics. And the second is it has to have something to do with the game's theme. So this year it was Crescendo, which is a music theme. So we gave it Motif because that is a musical term. So our first competition of the year was our LA regional, which was held in El Segundo. At this comp, we placed, I believe, 30th out of around 60 teams. And then we made the playoffs as the second choice of the 8th seed alliance, and we made it into the quarterfinals. This is also where we won our sustainability award. At our second competition, our East Bay Regional, it was up in Berkeley, and this is the event we won. We also set a world record and then beat it in our next match. And I believe it is still one of the top 5 scores in the world after the World Championships. And this is where we got the wild card as well. And then our last competition of the year was the World Championship, which was held in Houston, Texas. And our engineering vice president, Samuel Chisnati, has made a video, a recap video from that competition. Oh. Thank you.
One, two, three.
All right, so that concludes our presentation. So does anyone have any questions?
Well, thank you for taking us along on that trip, and you guys have to know that you guys were all there, and we are so proud of each and every one of you, but San Marino was there with you. And so I'm very proud to say that the community rose up and heard our ask for help, and you guys got it. So Dr. Delatorre, let's go up and do a presentation.
Yes, we'd like to take a photograph. And just so you know, we have certificates for each one of you that have been given to Mr. Barton, and he will give those out to you later on. But we'd like to have you all come up here to take a photograph with the Board of Education.
They want to move my feet. If they want them in.
I'm not getting them.
They want it.
You're not gonna be able to see us anyway.
That's true.
Like around him, should we stand behind? Oh, they have their giant. Watch your toes, everyone.
Oh, my gosh.
Watch your toes. Oh, good driving.
David, don't make any
Yeah,
sudden
Dave.
moves. So how many people are on your team? It's 40 or Yeah, they just run. Yeah.
I love that you guys came up with the world's edition of that merch. Like the championship merch.
Guys, you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
For next year.
Okay.
No.
Congratulations. Great job. Not quick. You're not quick. You don't, no way. No way. Serious?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Good luck at your job.
Thank you. I don't need it.
Thank you. Thank you. Great job.
They didn't sit on the new chairs. Oh, okay. Just Jennifer gave it to me and I'm like.
I actually have another.
Yes.
All right, next.
Those are not.
All right, I'd like to turn it over to Coach Tony Chow to recognize the San Marino High School Boys Varsity Volleyball Team. Hi, Tony.
Hi, everyone.
The Board of Education would like to recognize the boys varsity volleyball team for finishing second in the CIF Championship Division 5. Principal Dr. Wolf and Tony, where's Mr. Wolf? Okay, thank you.
I just want to thank the coach and our players. So I had the fun of going to the finals game, and it was an amazing ride watching all the playoffs and watching these guys work so hard. And then they get this team with a 6'10" player, and we still made it all the way to game 5 and lost by 2 points. And we were robbed basically. So, so congratulations, guys. You're champions.
Yeah.
I'll be brief. I know how long these meetings can run. I want to thank the Board of Education, Chair Ryan, for having us. Everyone here, executives, teachers, staff, principals. This year was, I kept saying we were really blessed to be here. Part part of this community. I think everyone was seen here. It's not just the educators, the parents, huge contribution to both, I mean, all the programs, robotics, volleyball, and whatnot. I want to thank the school for letting us have these opportunities to have these programs. I think that's tremendous, and it really helps contribute to the character of the students here. With that said, I mean, this year we went further than we've ever gone. They were co-league champs. We swept our way through CIF, and then we just had a tough match at the end. Phenomenal experience, phenomenal support from the community, Dr. Wolf and Superintendent Linda, everyone that came out. I mean, we really appreciate each and every person that was there vocally or physically supporting our program. And we hope to go a little further next year, but thank you so much.
Thank you. So we're gonna take a picture, but you're gonna give the certificates to them later.
Okay, so I guess.
Can I just say something? Wow, I was so impressed with your performance this season. I haven't had the opportunity to watch a lot of boys volleyball games. It's intense. I mean, it really, I was like just so impressed and in awe of the physicality and I mean, your athleticism. And you guys just, you just left it out there and it was really, really amazing. And that last game, so incredibly close. Like you guys could have really just won that. And it speaks to your desire to keep going. And I thought, oh my God, you guys weren't you tired? I would have been exhausted and you just kept going and you kept going out there and just giving it 100%. So thanks to each and every one of you for representing our San Marino High School Titans so well. And coach, I mean, you know, we have to give you credit too, right? I mean, some of it is coaching. Right?
They needed some more time out.
A lot of it is coaching. So you guys have an amazing coach and you guys are amazing players and we were so impressed. So thanks for giving us that opportunity to be in awe of every single one of you and you too, coach.
That's exactly.
They're tall enough to stand. I know, right? I'm good. Maybe they're causing problems.
Almost there.
All right. Thank you, boys volleyball, for taking us on this trip.
On this wild ride.
All right. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Linda Delatorre to introduce and recognize our community sponsors. Our community sponsor recognition, the Board of Education will recognize the Chinese Club of San Marino. Should I call them all up?
Yeah, please.
City Club and San Marino Rotary for their generous contributions to the district on behalf of the San Marino High School's robotics team. So come on up, everyone.
Yep.
Chinese Club, San Marino, City Club, Rotary.
Okay. We have certificates of appreciation for each of you, and we're so grateful for your help and support and your generosity. This is for the Chinese Club of San Marino. Thank you for being here to accept that. And this is for the San Marino Rotary. And this is for the City Club of San Marino. So thank you all for getting our kids to Worlds. We could not have done it without you. So thank you so very much for always stepping up and leading.
We should just stay on the side. Why do we even? My head is. I know, right?
All right, right here. Three, 1, 2, and 3. I don't.
Thank you. She told me she was leaving early. Okay.
There's another. No, no. Is there? She says there's more.
Yes.
Spotlight.
Well, we have the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Foundation.
Oh, good. It's gonna be a little bit of a, yeah. We're done, right? Right here?
But we have a Zoom.
All right, so next, we have the San Marino Schools Foundation. This is a check presentation. San Marino Schools Foundation will present the district with a check from the 2023-2024 annual campaign. So who am I calling up? Oh, they're coming.
You can speak now.
Good evening, Board President Ryan, Board of Education members, and Superintendent Delatorre. My name's Tony Wu. I'm the incoming president of the Schools Foundation, and I'll be presenting a report on behalf of the foundation today. Allison Moeller, our departing president, regrets that she can't be here to present. She is out of the country visiting family. The foundation continues to strengthen its organization and operations that prepares for the future. Here's a brief recap of our year. The foundation was once again able to grant the district $2 million to support 20 teachers across all 4 schools. I was pretty proud of that. We had a dedicated team of 25 trustees this last year to achieve this mission, communicate our message about district funding needs. Starting at the beginning of the year, we had our new family mixer at Old Mill. We also had a number of successful fundraisers, including our new community event Pie Day, the Huntington Drive banners, and our yard sale campaign. We thanked our significant donors at the end of the year with a recognition event that drew about 400 people. So it was really nice to see a lot of you there.
Not only is the foundation a donor to the schools, but it is a messenger and cheerleader for the district. We are working to strengthen alumni outreach with the release of alumni newsletters. We sponsored an active group of 8 high school interns. They were fantastic young people. We administered grants given by parents in the community. We had trustee liaisons at each school. And we attended school board meetings, PTA meetings, and countless other district events, and took advantage of every opportunity to inform and educate our community about funding of each of the schools. In the coming year, we look forward to welcoming 9 new trustees, including you, Jane, and continuing to expand our collaborative messaging with PTA boosters and the Chinese Club of San Marino. We thank the Board of Education, Superintendent Della Torre, for providing us with the information and support that we need to accomplish our mission. And we thank Catherine Oliveros, Foundation Manager, without whom our events and office would not run as smoothly as they had the last 2.5 years since she took the job. So really appreciate that. And I think we're ready.
Actually, I would just very quickly, I want to say thank you. We actually have 100% participation from all of our school board members in our fundraising efforts this year. Thank you all very much. And actually most of your executive cabinet has participated. We appreciate you. Seeing your names up there supporting our kids really helps families understand just how important it is. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you. So we have a certificate to present to you in gratitude for all that you do to support our schools and our students. And it reads as follows: in deep gratitude for your outstanding generosity and unwavering support, your significant financial contribution has made an immense impact. We are incredibly honored to have you as a valued supporter, and thank you for making such a significant difference. So thank you. I'm going to present you with the certificate, and we would like to get a photo if that's okay. Woo.
Do you want me to just focus?
Right here, goes out here, and count 3, 1, 2, and 3. One more, 1, 2, and 3. Perfect.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, San Marino Schools Foundation. Thank you.
I'm doing it back.
Thank you, San Marino Schools Foundation. All right, next we have the public comment section. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. First, you may submit through an online form. As of 12 noon today, there were no submissions. Requests to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Dr. Choi, are there any attendees?
You do have attendees.
All right, so let's give it a minute.
Pause for 1 minute if you'd like to make a request to speak regarding matters that are not on the agenda or items that are in the consent information or action items. Please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Okay, we have 30 seconds remaining. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. President Ryan, we have no requests.
All right, thank you, Dr. Choi. With, as there are no attendees on Zoom requesting to speak, next you can request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. And we do have a card submission here. This topic is not on the agenda, but it is a report on our 4th grade hands-on program, culture program. And this is Miss Vivian Chen and Chinese Floral Artist Foundation. Vivian, come on up.
How many minutes do I have?
I'm afraid to say, Vivian.
Cody, how many minutes do I have? Let's put it this way.
5 minutes per speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, I have plenty of time. Okay, thank you. Well, it really made me feel very old when I see Tony Cho on here because he went to school with one of my 4 kids. Oh, my goodness, I'm an old mom for sure. Well, honorable chairs and everyone sitting in the audience from that side, I know you, so I'm just gonna say hi. Anyone on this side, I know at least 60% of you, so I also sort of say hi. My name is Vivian Chen. I am the executive director of the Chinese Floral Foundation and also the curator. I have always believed that education is the single most important endeavor of the human race. And this belief feels more pertinent today than ever before. Teaching the concept of a balanced life have been challenging, especially in recent years. Our first session of Hands-on Culture, Be a Scholar for a Day, took place on API Heritage Month, May 15, 2013, at Carver Elementary School 4th grader classroom. The education program originated from the Huntington Library, Chinese Garden, Verdant Mist Scholar Society, with the director then of the Botanical Garden, Dr. Jim Foden, who is the biggest champion of building the Chinese Garden, opened its door in 2008, costing approximately 18.3 million. By the time they are done with the final expansion, it costs 65 million. The Chinese Garden is pronounced Liu Fang Yuan in Mandarin, translating into dual meanings. 1, the garden of flowing fragrance. 2nd, leaving a legacy for the next generation. The union of these 2 principles perfectly sum up the vision behind the Chinese Garden. To quote Jim Foden, we hope this garden and all the program it offers is to move the community of various heritage in California and beyond, and is to increase the mutual understanding of appreciation among our human race in an effort to deepen the cultural roots of the Chinese Garden and promote growth. The Chinese Garden created the Verdant Mist Scholar Society, which Rosa Z, who is traveling right now, and myself as 2 other friends founded the Chinese Floral Foundation USA Charter. I have always saying, when you have a mission, you go find your friends. So we connect with a lot of friends. We created the Hands-on Culture Be a Scholar for a Day education program for the 4th grader as part of the social study framework under the Golden State Standard at that time. We created the environment that students can experience the daily ritual of the Song Dynasty scholars. Their ritual of 4 arts, hanging painting, brewing tea, burning incense, and arranging flower, extend beyond the activity. The scholar daily ritual is to help awakening the human five senses, consists of vision, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. These five senses waking up early in the morning and prepare them to learn the four art and skill. Qin, musical instrument, qi, chess, su, literature, painting is hua. This practice cut across the grain of our hurried popular culture, yet the daily ritual hold relevant to the homogeneous living, especially in the time era now. Through the understanding, appreciation of the philosophy of the ancient scholarism, we strive to combine the tradition of the past and the fast-paced busy world of today. With this bridge between the two cultures, we hope to be one step closer to the balanced life that many seek and yet so few achieve. The goal of our education program, BOE Scholar for a Day, are to create a diversity of cultural learning experience using a present-day approach, engage the participant in an active learning process, and instill an appreciation of a lifelong habit. It's been over a decade to come to today, but to see the eager learner of the fourth grader express the student being mesmerized, and this is so true, and you can hear the pin drop. People who help volunteer can attest to that. They focus, they were attentive, and then they couldn't wait. They could not even stop when we say stop doing your calligraphy because they don't want to stop. And obviously they could not wait to see, I'm going to go home and cut flower tomorrow morning and put it in the beautiful vase. And then we give them the treasure box. This is what our gift to the kids, that they are treasure. They can live a very meaningful, purpose life. So our goal is to really put this into a teacher to kids, so the teacher can teach how to teach. Between Rosa and I, we probably can hang out in a few more years. I am gonna be a grandma. Hopefully I'll be back in 10 years and teach my fourth grade grandkids. But definitely, this is a program for everyone. It's our goal at Blessing within the Torah. That's why I say, when you have a project, you call your girlfriends. So our goal is to create this learning process, and we are lining up with a lot of educators, including the USC, to put this into the perspective. That's my report.
Thank you so much, Vivian. Awesome work. Thank you so much. Awesome. All right, next we have the consent section. Consent section A to J. Do I have a motion to approve the consent section?
I move to approve consent section 9A through J.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call, Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong.
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. Motion has passed for the consent section 9A to J. Communication section, a communication from the Board of Education. We ask that each board member take no more than 1 to 2 minutes. We're a little behind schedule right now to share their communication. Please do not repeat what a previous board member may have mentioned. So let's begin with you, Mrs. Lamb.
Thank you. So we are now at the last week of school. I think everyone's really excited. Really excited for the promotions of our fifth graders and eighth graders, as well as the graduating seniors. So that's very exciting. Today we kicked it off. Myself and the Board of Education, as well as the executive team, attended a special retirement reception honoring 8 incredible educators who have dedicated their lives to make a profound impact on all of our children, past and present. I fully enjoyed learning about how these outstanding educators shape the minds of countless children, and using their wisdom and kindness and their commitment to fostering the children of our community. So I want to take this moment to honor and celebrate them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. That's wonderful. And then Mrs. Chong.
Sure. Don't want to really get into specifics. I just really appreciate all of the banquets and the performances at the year's end. A lot of work has gone into that all year, as well as a lot of parents and boosters and teachers behind the scenes, making that happen to celebrate our students' accomplishments across the 4 A's. So thank you for letting us be a part of that.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Gill?
I echo what my colleagues said and just wanted to thank the executive team for all your hard work, tireless work all year. We made it. It's almost. And to my fellow board members, it's been a pleasure all year. And so earlier, I just wanted to mention that all the three principals who gave talks about the retirees just did such beautiful tributes, and I think that that just shows how much we do really value our people here, and it's such a wonderful place to be. So thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Mary, Whitney, and Ben. Thank you. Mr. Chang?
I attend the Promethean ceremony and also senior senior award for the senior student event. And also I went to the Huntington Library observe for the once a year they have a showcase for the humanity seminar. I think our student did a great job. And as of Board of Governor for Huntington Library, I also attend for the Community Relation Committee and also Building Committee. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. I don't need to mention anything other than Chinese school had their promotion celebration this past weekend at Huntington Middle School. Thank you, Mary, for letting us, or Chinese school, to use your facilities. Promethean Breakfast, City Club had their meeting, end of the year celebration for our outstanding teacher, certificated and classified staff breakfast this morning, and then the beautiful retirement reception. Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, executive team. I'd like to take this opportunity just to thank my executive team for all of their hard work this past year. I know that they have had many sleepless nights, long hours in the office, weekends, and we have accomplished an awful lot this year. And we have had a very successful end of year for our Mandarin dual language immersion program at Carver Elementary School. And that was not easy to put into place, but thank you, Dr. Richter, for making sure that that happened. Dr. Lin, thank you so much for making sure that we remain fiscally solvent. I think that is extremely important. And you have done just a wonderful job. So thank you so, so much. Dr. Jason Rose, thank you for making sure that we continue to hire only the best and brightest in San Marino. That is a very impactful thing that we do in San Marino, and thank you for doing it responsibly and consistently. And Dr. Choi, thank you for always being willing to go above and beyond and for being so steady in your leadership. We have done amazing things this year. You were able to be awarded a federal grant in the amount of, I think, $350,000. I hope am I right?
400.
400, okay, $400,000. No, thank you. See, he balances to the penny, which is why he's our incoming CEO. I love it. So that really helped us move the needle in terms of creating safe spaces for our kids and our teachers and our staff members. Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing that and making sure that we are safe with cybersecurity training. And so you've really done a lot of amazing things. I'm sure you will continue to do amazing things as our chief business official starting July 1st. Jennifer Delatorre, who is not related to me, but I wouldn't mind it if she were. Thank you for keeping me in the upright position and for doing so much incredible work, not just to keep me well organized and on task, but also to support our Board of Education. There's a lot of work that Jennifer does behind the scenes to really help the board be as effective as they can be too. So thank you so much for your professionalism and your ability to always be there for all of us, actually. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Delatorre. Next, we have information item. And I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Jackie Chong, PTA Council President for the 2023-24, your President's Report, and then the 2024-25 changing of the guard. Thank you, Jackie.
All right, good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Delatorre, and our executive cabinet. I am so lucky to have the best unpaid job in town. As PTA Council President, I have the honor of representing the countless dedicated volunteers across this wonderful district. Our parents give so much of themselves, and each year we are proud to share their exceptional achievements with you all. During the 2023-24 school year, throughout all 4 units and council, our members volunteered over 147,661 hours. Using prevailing wage, this is the equivalent of over $5 million in labor, all for the benefit of our students. Much of this work, of course, is done day by day at the sites with our amazing PTA presidents. But at the council level, I wanted to highlight some of our district-wide events this year. We presented an incredibly successful reflections program that quite literally overflowed this boardroom. The theme was, I am hopeful because, and the joyful self-expression displayed across the walls and the video screens was only overshadowed by the beaming smiles of our proud young artists who are running around here. Earlier this spring, we honored some extraordinary contributors at our Founders Day, where we celebrated the remarkable volunteer spirit that makes the San Marino PTA unique, including our Council Honorary Service Award recipients, Krishna Rao, Partnership for Awareness, and Dr. Michael Lin. At that same event, we presented academic excellence awards to some outstanding San Marino High School students. When explaining why the subject of chemistry was special to her, our platinum winner, Sydney Park, wrote that, finding something I like opens the doors to numerous opportunities for the future. After all, on the surface, a subject is just a subject. Find meaning in that subject, and it becomes a purpose. I thought that was a perfect validation of the San Marino educational experience. This April, we held our training day for our newer PTA leaders. And I just wanted to say that beyond these big events, I want to acknowledge the quiet and important work of the outgoing council. They were a team of volunteer superstars who needed very little presiding to get the job done and made my job look really easy. Because working with good people is wonderful, but when I get to work with my friends, that is a true gift. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to these 4 smart, hardworking, funny unit presidents. It's been an amazing year. It has been a joy to work with you all. In ending, I never opened ChatGPT in my life, but I was recently told that the way I write is very AI oriented. So I'm not sure what that says about me as a writer, but it is really hard to
Beacon of hope.
Yes. I was told by Dr. Delatorre that my word choices are very, okay, so, but here goes. San Marino schools are truly a synergy of fantastic teachers, supportive staff, and unparalleled volunteerism. Their generosity of time and talent is singular, and it's building strong foundations for generations of students to come. I do want to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Delatorre, her executive team, our 4 awesome principals, 2 assistant principals, and all the wonderful teachers and staff in San Marino. The community partnership we have is truly one of a kind, and these last 2 years as council president has been an honor. I am thrilled to hand the reins over to the magnificent Marissa Kelly, who will continue the work with grace, humility, and a calm and steady hand. I know that she and her board are well prepared to guide our PTAs next year, and I look forward to supporting her. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our high school president, incoming and outgoing, Lisa Wang.
It's always hard to follow Jackie. President Ryan, Board of Education, Dr. Linda Delatorre, and your executive team. It's my pleasure to submit this year-end report for San Marino High School PTSA. My message this year was pretty simple. Go with the changes and let's work together for the good of our students. And boy, did we have changes. New principal, new assistant principal, new block bell schedule. Our principal, Dr. Wolf, is a fanatic of TV show Friends, and that was also our theme for the parent party this year. Coincidentally, of course, which raised over $50,000. His bowling talent was on full display during our spring bowling fundraiser. We planted all this with him in mind. We donated over $100,000 to San Marino High School through its fall and spring fundraisers or allocations, teachers' wish lists, scholarships, luau, homecoming support, just to name a few. We recognized 12 terrific Titans for their volunteerism over the years for PTSA. Our volunteers logged more than 53,000 volunteering hours. I look forward to seeing the community tomorrow night, May 29th at 7:30 at the high school for the Grad Night Light Up. And we still need volunteers on May 31st and on June 1st at 5 a.m. So I hope to see all of you at some shift on another. Thank you to all the individuals and organizations who donated their time and money and supported the PTSA. Together, I hope we made a difference in your son and in your daughter's experience at the high school. To the class of 2024, congratulations. Enjoy your graduation, grad night, your summer, and cherish the memories. It was a privilege to lead the 23-24 PTSA, and I look forward to continuing once more as your 24-25 PTSA president. It's my pleasure to introduce the outgoing president from HMS, Lauren Shen.
Good evening, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, members of the executive team, parents, and community members. I would like to start by thanking Dr. De La Torre and her entire executive team for their leadership and collaboration this year. It made my jobs easier knowing that your doors were always open whenever I needed support from the district. I would also like to thank the dynamic duo of Principal Hazlett and Assistant Principal Coda. She's not here, right? No. They are energetic, hardworking, flexible, and fun. They have been a dream to work with this year, and I can't thank them enough for all the support they gave to me and to our PTA. And of course, I'm very thankful for Jackie, Lisa, Lena, and Carol. I couldn't have made it throughout the year without your support and friendship. I want to thank the many parents, teachers, and staff members who joined our PTA this year. We finished off with 581 PTA members, and our PTA received 3 membership awards from First District and 6 membership awards from California State PTA. Our San Marino community has the best volunteers, and I am so thankful for their dedication to all of our students. Throughout the year, our volunteers organized and supported various programs at HMS, including new student orientation, new family orientation, spirit wear sales, reflections, food trucks for back to school night and showcase, 6th grade dances, noontime fun, Red Ribbon Week, Career Day, Halo Awards, teacher and staff appreciation, and our upcoming 8th grade promotion celebration. Our PTA fundraising chairs organized 3 successful fundraisers this year: the Ghosts of Chuck Wagon Past Tauntington Breakfast, the Fox Father Parent Party, and Fox Games. I am pleased to share that our association approved an allocation of $88,800 to help fund outdoor ed transportation, VAPA athletics, academic teams, copier leases and supplies, Go Guardian, and Chromebooks. HMS PTA volunteers have served for a total of 8,440 hours over the course of the school year for PTA-related programs, events, and activities. According to Independent Sector, the current estimated value of each volunteer hour is $38.61 in the state of California. So to quantify the value that our PTA volunteers provide, that equates to $325,868.40. Wow. It has been an honor to serve as HMS PTA's president this year. I am thrilled to pass the gavel over to next year's president, Erin Clarity. I have no doubt Erin's enthusiasm, as well as her experience as a 2-time Valentine PTA president, will make her the perfect person to lead HMS PTA next year. Thank you. And I'd like to turn it over to outgoing Valentine president, Carol Huang.
Thank you. Good evening, SMUSD Board of Education members, President Shelley Ryan, Vice President C. Joseph Chang, Clerk Francesca Gill, Jane Chan, Joanna Lamb, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, Executive Team at SMUSD, our school principals, and a special hello to our Vikings, Dr. Choi and Principal McAlpine, and my fellow PTA presidents, outgoing, incoming, and staying. 2023, 2024 started off with our traditional popsicle social, followed by welcome wagon, orientation coffees, back to school night, and both executive and association meetings, all in 2 weeks in August. This set the pace for the rest of the year, where PTA held at least 1 to 2 all-school events each month. Some of the major events were Bike Safety Rodeo with partnership with SMPD, our Spirit Wear, 2 lunches with loved ones, Fall Fair with a separate patron night, Red Ribbon Week, Halloween Parade, Veterans Day Assembly, Donuts at Dawn, kickstarting a week of book fair on campus, holiday ornaments, winter musical, pajama drive, staff appreciation luncheons with a full week of teacher staff appreciation, readathon, Lunar New Year Assembly with partnership with Chinese Club of San Marino, parent party, which includes Girls Night In, patron event, dozens of buy-in parties, and the big gala. American Heritage Day, Engineering Showcase, Engineering Show with Professor Egghead, who also led 4 lessons at Valentine. Spring Musical, Open House, May Day Celebration with Heart of Gold Ceremony, Founders Day, Jogathon Community Toy Drive, week of 5th grade activities ending in a graduation ceremony. And these are just the events on our PTA calendar that PTA funded, staffed, planned, and like magic created for our children. These do not include the executive team who met twice a month, monthly meetings with Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, and weekly meetings with Principal McAlpine. Without the support of these major leaders, PTA would not be able to actualize so many of these special moments. I felt so much kind support by these bodies of leaders, and I wanted to make sure to thank you guys tonight. From all of the hard work together this year, Valentine PTA allocated $308,000 to $1,281.57. Valentine PTA volunteered 42,135 hours this year. Our numbers are really incredible. They're so impressive, but more so because we know that our community gave the hours and the resources to help Valentine Vikings for them to receive and remember the exceptional experience, education, and childhood during these years with us. What can't be shown in these numbers are the intangible, thoughtful moments and memories of hard work, problem-solving, support, celebration, and friendship our parents, teachers, and staff at Valentine and PTA forged together. Our hearts this year sang with pride and connection, and with a heart of gratitude, I thank everyone for their trust and support given to me this year. I look forward to becoming a PTA member, mom, and a friend to Kim Sutantio as she takes on the steering oar at Valentine. It will be another fantastic year with her and because of her. And thank you so much.
All right.
I get to have the privilege of introducing my friend Lena, who is the outgoing Carver president.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Save the best for last. Okay, what a year it's been. This year at Carver, we welcomed 100 new students, filling our classrooms with the highest number of learners ever. Walking through the halls, you can feel the energy, and with Carver hosting the first Mandarin dual language immersion program on our campus, this only added to the excitement. Carver has always been full of life, but this year brought it to a whole new level. With the continuation of last year's theme of Carver Rocks anchoring us amid so many exciting changes, Carver hit the ground running with our first fundraiser, the Parent Party, which was held at the Santa Anita Racetrack. It was magical to be transported back to the Roaring 20s. We had a glamorous event that raised over $151,000 after expenses and brought our Carver parent community closer to the start of the year. We brought back our jogathon in the spring after kids missed it, and they had a blast doing what kids do best, running around with no restraint and enjoying their sweet treat at the end. At Carver, we always find ways to make fundraising fun, and after our jogathon, we geared up for Carnival. This year's theme, Carver Ohana, brought back old traditions like our talent show and introduced some new games to the lineup. This year's Carver Carnival was our most financially successful one to date, netting $91,000. We also had 2 major allocations this year. In the fall, we allocated over $285,000 for several key areas, including field trips for every grade, new laptops, and a copier for our teachers and staff, and new school play equipment. In the spring, we allocated $155,000, which included enhancements to our library and provided continued support for essential positions like our librarians, noontime aides, and driveway safety. In between all of this, we are proud of the enrichment we were able to provide for our Carver students this year. We provided a summary of all events and PTA-funded programs at our last association meeting, which is too long to list here, but have no doubt our students enjoyed every moment, from the book fair to the science fair, from bike rodeo to Lunar New Year, and our BMX assembly and our library programs. Their experiences have been memorable and enriching. But PTA is not just about fundraisers, events, and activities. We are dedicated to enhancing the Carver experience for not just our students, but staff and families. With the help of our curriculum lab, which offers year-round support to our teachers, they can focus on teaching and thinking of more ways to engage their students. Our dedicated and robust safety team can be seen diligently helping at the car line and at the school entrance and exit in their yellow vest to ensure the safety of our children. This is what has made Carver stand out. It's the extra effort that each of us puts in. And I would be remiss not to note that the success of this year has been built on the foundation of the previous generations at Carver. It is their hard work and love of the community that have allowed us to excel. This love carries forward year after year, and while we officially reported over 47,000 hours, the actual number is much higher. Our volunteers often go above and beyond what's asked of them, contributing countless unrecognized hours. We are so very proud of what has been achieved this year. To all those who contributed, thank you. We couldn't have accomplished what we did without you. It is your collective efforts and countless hours of dedication that allowed us to raise over $336,000 after expenses. Serving as PTA president this year has been a privilege, and I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to directly impact this amazing community at Carver Elementary. I'm excited about the depth of our volunteer base to carry us forward into the next year and beyond. I know that Annie and the new executive team will continue to keep Carver awesome. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Have a rockin' summer. Yay.
Nice try, Lisa.
Can we have the outgoing Sandy behind the chair? So we'll take care of all of you. This is a special moment. On behalf of the conference, PTA Forum Manager, congratulations and welcome to the world of PTA again. There we go. Thank you. Excellent. Smile is a fun job.
Yes.
Can you excuse yourselves to go run and have a promotion?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Linda Delatorre to give the board an update on the 23-24 district goals. The district goals update, and this will provide the Board of Education with an update on district goals.
Yes. Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education and executive team. This evening, I would like to present to you the end of year board goals report. You each have a binder comprised of the presentation that I'll be giving you tonight, and also a more comprehensive board goal report that is the second part of the contents in your binder. Next slide, please. Sorry. So I included a message just about the process of forming the goals. And you can read it at your leisure. I'm not going to read it to you. So we can move on to the next acknowledgement, which is, oh, go back. Our wonderful Board of Education, who took part in, of course, the development of the 4 broad-based board goals that we have been working on all year, starting with Shelley Ryan, our board president, C. Joseph Chain, our vice president, Francesca Gill, our board clerk, Joanna Lamb, member, and Jane Chon, member. So thank you so much for your work on this. Next slide.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that the Board of Education in San Marino possesses a governance mindset, which is really, really critical to be able to perform the duties that they are elected to perform. They think big picture. They look at what the work that we do globally. They have unity of purpose. They have a shared moral agenda. They're always looking at what is best for our students. And so every decision that they make and every decision that we make is through the lens of what is best for kids. Also, they are looking at governing the district, not managing or administrating, but governing. And so they also have shared a focus on continuous improvement in the district. Next slide. So some of the key highlights are, when we are assessing how well we're doing in terms of implementing goals, we're looking at whether or not those goals are measurable. We are looking at creating and setting realistic goals for the future. And then the superintendent has to have the necessary resources to achieve these goals. And that's part of the work that the Board of Education does. They make sure that the superintendent and the executive team, our principals, assistant principals, and directors have what they need to make sure that their goals come to fruition. Next slide. And what we do is we look at key indicators, and I gave you 2 examples here to kind of tell you, illustrate to you how this works going forward. When we look at educational services as an example, the key indicator for one of the goals contained in Dr. Richter's action plan, you have to pinpoint what you're doing and when you will do it. So educational services will provide an environment of safety and wellness by continuing training for the implementation of PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavioral Intervention Systems at the elementary level. And the activity, these are the things that she's doing in order to accomplish that. Secure qualified trainers, promote the advantages of PBIS, discuss the importance of inclusive environments with principals, assistant principals, and teacher leaders. And so her outcome is that she's been able to achieve significant expansion of professional development opportunities for certificated and classified staff this year in the targeted area of PBIS. So when we sit down and we look at the goals that are developed by the Board of Education, we break it down in this way to be able to develop specific measurable action plans that we can implement throughout the school year to achieve the board's original directives. And I gave you another example, same thing with technology. You can look at that at your leisure. But we really do need data to be able to assess how well we're doing or not doing. Go to the next slide, please. So I'd just like to take you briefly through the board goals that were developed for this current school year. And the first, which I have titled Board Goal A, is provide an environment of safety and wellness. And the bulleted items you see below are just examples of what the board was intending to communicate to the district, creating opportunities for increased safety awareness and competency, provide a framework for mental health and well-being, enhanced training for security and wellness community-wide, continue collaboration with city, state, and federal agencies, utilize technology to maximize staff response. Next slide. Board Goal B is develop and implement fiscal health and sustainability. And this was originally established year before last, and it is sort of a carryover because it is fundamental to what we do as school district leadership, and the Board of Education has responsibility to make sure that the district is operating based on fiscal solvency. So these are some of the bullet point items contained under that goal. Next slide. So we have Board Goal C, which is to demonstrate a conscious culture of service, value, and appreciation. And this goal was actually modified by the Board of Education this past year to be more broad-based and not necessarily focused on any one stakeholder group. And so you see the bulleted items underneath that give more definition to what the board expected us to accomplish. Next slide. And then finally, Board Goal D, which is to prepare students to be high-quality global citizens. Again, this was a goal that was modified by the Board of Education for 23-24 to be more specific. And you can see that the board wanted us to provide an up-to-date student-centered learning environment that prepares students to be multilingual, digital citizens, collaborative, aware of the wider world, compassionate, empathetic, environmentally aware, curious, creative, action-oriented, of high moral character. So now I apologize in advance for the very small font on this page, but if you look at the second part of what is in your packets, you'll be able to, you'll see this a lot better and clearer. Dr. Richter likes details and and so I tried to keep it on one slide. And so these are all of the things that educational services was able to accomplish under each goal that the board set. And so if you look at the end of the action, you can see there's letters there, A, comma, C, D on the first line. That demonstrates that that first item is relevant to goal A, goal C, and goal D. So I've coded these lines so that the Board of Education knows which goals each of these action steps ties back to. And so you can see each of them is labeled. Next slide. So technology services, you can see again here, multi-factor authentication implemented, and that has been implemented district-wide, which is important for cybersecurity. And you can see that that ties back to goals A, B, and C. And I'll let you look at that at your leisure. But again, each one of those action items is tied back to a goal or goals. Next slide. Human resources, same thing, very detail oriented. And so we had to use small font on that to fit it on one slide. But again, you have an easy to read detailed report in the back of your binder. So as an example, human resources continues implementation of district-wide badge requirement, and that is a goal that is still in progress. So some of these goals are still in progress. Some of them have been completed, yeah, some of them have not yet been completed, but will be in short order. And some of them will carry over to next year. Next slide. So you see business services. There's a lot to digest on that slide as well. Business services has a lot with respect to the board's second goal, which was B. As an example, hold a lunch and learn on school funding. Remember, that was something that we hosted at Valentine Elementary School. We invited members of the Facilities Advisory Committee to attend. We invited LPA, I think, to attend. We invited our bond consultant. And so that is an action that ties back to board goal B that was completed. Tonight, you will have on your agenda an action item to approve the facilities master plan, and that goes under the board goal B, which is fiscal sustainability. So all of these have been very carefully labeled and tie back to one of the board's goals. Next slide. So what are the next steps in our process? We hold every year a board strategic goal planning study session. This year that is planned for June 3rd and 4th. We will be at the Huntington Library, and we will be presenting the Board of Education on the 3rd with data. And each one of us will be providing you with a presentation, and this will help to inform some of the goals that you will be developing on the 4th. And on the 4th, we will have two they're retired superintendents who are consultants. You worked with them last year from Leadership and Associates there to facilitate the process of the development of your goals for 24-25. The executive team leadership goes, we get those goals, and then we go on June 5th, 6th, and 7th to work on our leadership. We evaluate tons of district data points to discuss how well we are doing and where there might be some opportunities for improvement. And then we take the Board of Education's goals and we develop our individual departmental action plans for implementation of those goals and or our site plan. So each site principal and assistant principal work together to come up with their action plans that tie back to the board's goals. And when we start the school year, we have a principal from each of the schools every month at an open session board meeting present on their action plan that ties back to the board's goals. That way, the board is well informed on the actions that the school site is taking to move forward in advancing those goals. Next step. So in summary, our progress in advancing the board's goals is evident through the measurable impact of strategic collaborations and innovative approaches. We have worked really hard this year on connecting with education partners in the community, and in some cases in the wider community to make sure that we have the resources that we need to get the job done. I think that our report highlights the significant efforts that we have all taken to make sure that we are meeting the board's goals. It was a very collaborative process, and we were very strategic in how we approached it. We have a continued commitment to this process. So while we are celebrating our achievements, of which there are many, we understand the need to continuously look for ways that we can strengthen our programs and enhance all of our opportunities for growth. So we're looking to do what hasn't been done before. We're not resting on our laurels. We are definitely wanting to move the needle and improve all of our programs in San Marino. Next slide. Any questions?
For the business service, so how many AED we install in the whole school site?
Quite a bit. I have to get the exact number for you. Each site has at least one.
Each site?
Yeah,
just one?
No, at least one. In fact, the most recent one was installed at Delmar Field even. So each school site, I can say at least one. And we started this last year. But I could get you the exact number for each of the schools.
Well, I think the high school, especially close to the football field, over there need to have
Ben saying three.
Okay, Ben has three. You got three.
Yeah, you can have three.
Two.
Three.
Three.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably find the
exact
some company maybe like to donate more.
Oh.
Everyone should have one.
Right.
I have a couple questions.
Mr. Chang, are you finished?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I just had two questions. So one, I was wondering how the Facilitron implementation was going, and my second one relates to the curriculum adoption. And I was just wondering, there's three categories: ethnic studies, social science, and science mentioned, and as well, wondering what the timelines are for those, as well as when math might be looked at. So either way.
So Facilitron, we are in the pilot phase this year, and we're gathering facility utilization data, which can help inform planning in the future. We also use Facilitron for maintenance and repair work orders. So that data is also integral to the whole package. We did get data from Facilitron on the comparable facility use fees from other districts. So that is very good information, but the recommendation is not to change our facility use fees at this point until maybe after November.
Thank you, Dr.
Sure. So with regards to the curriculum adoption, in the fall, we established two curriculum study committees, one for history and social science and one for science. And it was on a voluntary basis, and we were so pleased to see so many teachers and administrators that were willing to serve on both committees at the elementary and secondary level. So we really had the content experts at the table to look through potential curriculum, receive information from various publishers, look and see what other school districts are currently using, especially the high-performing school districts. And see, learn from what they have found out through their research, what they found effective and non-effective. I believe since late fall, we've met 5, maybe 6 times with each committee. And so the timeline as of now is we have identified a potential pilot for history, social science, and science. For history, we have identified California Impact for K-8. And for science, we have identified TCI for grades K-5 and STEM scopes for grades 6 through 8. And HMH, remind me what HMH, Hootland, Mifflin, Harcourt, Brace for the high school for 9-12 for science. And so the current implementation timeline is we will be providing time for our teachers to review the curriculum over summer, provide professional development, and they will be launching the pilot in the fall. And the pilot will run 1 semester. So it'll go all the way through December, right before winter break. And at that point, we will hopefully take advantage of our December 2nd professional development day, our student-free day, to evaluate the curriculum. We'll also have a check-in in October with the publishers for any questions, additional guidance, and then present it to our community, for our parents to also in our community to review in the fall, and then have the committees make a recommendation to the board for adoption.
And then do we have an idea of when math might start to be looked at?
The California framework for math just came out, so hopefully, I don't want to promise next year, but hopefully we will start looking at a timeline for next year when we would look at math.
And the ethnic studies will be looked at as well then?
Ethnic studies requirement is by 25-26. We need to have a semester. And so currently, right now, we've been in communications with the high school, and they are working with their committee to look at what they currently have with regards to the history classes and what would be the appropriate class, whether to have a standalone class or whether to embed it into a history course. And they will be meeting probably starting in the fall regularly to develop the curriculum for it and create the course outline.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So 1 more week, we will have a board retreat. So before board retreat, we like the executive team, to figure out what the resource we have. Yeah, I think it's easily, the board, the bring up the ideas or the suggestion, but we really need to know what the resource we have. So for the future, we want to set up another curriculum or even the CTE. So is that we are going to put more for the science or the social science or the journalism or whatever, yeah.
Or for CTE.
Yeah, so I think we need executive team prepare the information, so then the board can digest what the direction we will suggest. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. We are happy to do that.
Any other comments, statements, questions? All right. With no further questions, next we would we'd like to turn it over to Dr. Michael Lin and Dr. Choi.
Thank you, Board President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, and the executive team. Item 11C is an informational item to provide an update of the governor's May revision for the state's budget. Dr. Choi and I will be conducting this presentation in tandem in our graduate transition of roles and responsibilities. As we have seen in previous budget presentations, the state of California has 3 major revenue sources: personal income tax, corporation tax, and sales and use tax. This slide is about the personal income tax, with numbers for 3 years starting with the 2022-23 fiscal year. The gray blue bars are from the governor's January budget proposal. This was 4 months ago. The orange bars represent the numbers from the Legislative Analyst's Office, or the LAO office. And the green bars represent the governor's May revision numbers. The governor is forecasting higher revenue numbers than what the Legislative Analyst's Office is projecting, very similar to what we saw in January. The same holds true on the next slide for corporation tax. Revenues are down as compared to the governor's budget from January. For the sales and use tax forecast, next slide, please. The governor remains more optimistic than the legislative analyst's office, although the projected revenue numbers are noticeably lower than what the governor anticipated in January. So the governor is experiencing some reality in May as opposed to in January. Recall that the January numbers were significantly lower than what we had in the enacted budget from June of 2023. So June 2023, it was really fantastic at that time, but the reality is now what we're looking at in May. That's primarily because revenues were not realized when the 2022 taxes were due on November 15th of 2023. The problem now is that the budgeted state expenditures and revised state revenues for the 22-23 fiscal year per the enacted budget last June no longer reconcile. The state does have $8.4 billion in its rainy day fund. The governor's May revised proposes drawing down the rainy day fund by $5.8 billion for this year and $2.6 billion for next year, basically clearing out the entirety of the rainy day fund. In the May revise, the governor also proposes an extra constitutional maneuver that bypasses the minimum guarantee of the 3 tests associated with educational funding. In test 1, Prop 98 ensures that 40% of the state's revenues go to K-14 education. Tests 2 and 3 are basically based on prior year funding for education. What is important to note is that when the state allocates funding to education that is above the minimum guarantee, the excess allocations become part of the Prop 98 base for tests 2 and 3 formulas. The conundrum can be seen on the next slide. The problem stems from the fact that the 2023-24 enacted budget was passed months before the state had a clear picture of the amount of revenues it could expect to receive from personal income and corporation taxes for the 2022 tax year, since the IRS delayed the tax filing deadline from the spring to the fall. After November 15, 2023, the 2022 personal income tax and corporation taxes came in $26 billion below estimates. Per the enacted budget from June 2023, for the 23-24 fiscal year, the state has already apportioned funds to schools, and schools have already spent those apportionments on educating kids. It is unlikely that the state will ask schools to return that money. Next slide, please. There is an $8.8 billion allocation that is above the minimum guarantee. Test 2 and Test 3 require that allocations above the minimum guarantee become part of the Prop 98 base for subsequent years. State budget resources in 2022-23 cannot absorb the overpayment to education. The governor's maneuver basically does not recognize this $8.8 billion. So basically to the governor's maneuver, what $8.8 billion? That doesn't exist. But this 8.8 was already allocated, and therefore his idea was to remove it from tests 2 and 3. This maneuver is, of course, extra constitutional or beyond the provisions of the state's constitution for funding education, Prop 98 being a constitutional item. This maneuver has yet to be tested in litigation. So what are the other options? So next slide, please. The legislature and governor can suspend Prop 98 with 2/3 vote of the legislature and approval by the governor. So that can happen. It's unlikely though. They can also suspend future supplemental payments. So they could suspend Prop 98 or suspend future supplemental payments. They can do deferrals, which was very popular in the past. They can wipe out the rainy day fund, as we've seen earlier, as the governor's proposing. The director of the Department of Finance can also unilaterally reduce the funding of certain categorical programs to help address the Prop 98 deficit. On the next slide, we have the statutory COLA of 1.07% that we will use for budget planning purposes. And the budget is due June 30th next month. This is much lower than what we used to plan for the 24-25 budget last year in our multi-year projections. So we have to use statutory COLA data funding factors in our budget planning. On the next slide, we use 4 main funding factors to build the budget, starting with the COLA. And just like layers of the cake, we add on grade span adjustments, then we apply unduplicated counts, which qualify as for supplemental, but we don't qualify for concentration grant because of our low unduplicated pupil percentage numbers. Since our unduplicated, it hovers around 16-17%, we don't get any concentration dollars. We do get about $1 million in supplemental for next year. On the next slide, these are the grade span adjustment numbers that we use to build next year's budget. And each grade span brings in different revenues, and it depends on the enrollment numbers for each of those grade spans. On the following slide, CEA is the current expense of education awards. And as a unified school district, we have to meet the minimum 55% of expenditures for the direct classroom cost of teaching students. We are not alone in this, and as can be seen on the next slide. So looking at this, over 57% of elementary school districts were not able to meet CEA requirements, and more than a quarter of unified school districts are in the same situation. We had an audit finding in the last board presentation. We're not able to meet this requirement mainly because we received one-time funds, a huge amount of one-time funds that basically didn't pay teacher salaries. These were for materials, PPEs. We're going to have a continuation of this because we're putting money in $3 in HVACs, as well as the cameras that we got in terms of Dr. Choi's grant. Those don't pay salaries, those are equipment, and that's going to reduce our CEA numbers below 55 most likely for next year. So expect another audit finding, but there's a mechanism to address this. We did submit an application to LACO, and we are anticipating a very likely result in October, because we're not alone in this right now, as we're seeing on this slide. So I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Choi to conclude this presentation, and he has volunteered to take all the hard questions from the board.
Thank you, Dr. Lin. So in addition to the funding factors that Dr. Lin just covered, the dartboard also offers planning factors for future year projections. And some of the notable factors highlighted in this visual here include COLA, CalSTRS, and CalPERS, the employer rates through 2028. And while there's an anticipated rise in the COLA rate, there's also an anticipated gradual increase in CalPERS costs for school districts that are projected to go over 29%. So you can also see that lottery funding appears to remain flat. And one question we often get asked is how much lottery money we receive. And lottery actually represents approximately 1% of our district budget. It used to be closer to 2%. Finally, we also have planning factors for mandate block grant funding, which is provided to help school districts cover some, but not necessarily all of the costs of various mandated programs and activities. This graphic, which is provided by School Services of California, does a good job illustrating how revenues and expenditures may look for the next couple of years. You can see for 23-24 on the far left that the LCFF growth revenues exceeded expenditures. However, the expenditures illustrated here include employer rate increases, step and column, inflation, and special education contributions. As we look more towards the right for next year and beyond, you see that the anticipated expenditures will continue to outpace revenues despite an increase in COLA. And this represents the effects of the 22-23 conundrum that Dr. Lin just highlighted. So what's not in the May revision, but could be in the final budget? School Services of California highlighted 3 factors that are currently not in the May revise. First, the deferrals may come, especially if the legislature rejects the maneuver, or possible one-time cuts or other solutions may be needed to balance the Prop 98 side of the budget. Second, with the push towards universal TK implementation, there may not be a student-teacher ratio relief to help fund the proposed ratio drop from 12-1 to 10-1 by 25-26. And finally, although the May revise did not include programmatic reductions within core K-12 programs, the final enacted budget may look different. So it's important to note that between now and when the final state budget gets enacted, there is tension between the governor's proposed as part of the May revise to what the legislature might be willing to do. For example, the assembly intended to use about half of the state's reserves, whereas the governor proposes using more. Also, the two houses of the legislature, the Senate and the Assembly, may not be willing to accept the Prop 98 maneuver or may not wish to utilize all of the Prop 98 rainy day funds, which then other solutions or alternative cuts may be required to balance the 24-25 and future state budgets. As we look towards the future, it is important to note that the upcoming November general election is significant for California. This November, California voters will be asked to decide on various seats in the US Senate and House, the state Senate and Assembly, statewide ballot measures, and of course, local elections that include school board members, school bonds, local government positions, as well as other local ballot measures. And furthermore, the state is looking to qualify for a state bond that may provide matching funds for schools. This means that if school districts pass a bond, the state funds may be available to proportionally match those local funds. Conversely, if a state bond does pass for schools and there is no local bond, some communities would in essence be contributing to the state bond and miss out on benefiting its local share. And in closing, we will be seeing a lot of action between now and when the final budget gets enacted, which we anticipate will be June 15. So stay tuned and don't forget to go out and vote this November. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
Dr.
to answer
Choi,
any
and thank
questions.
you, Dr. Lin. Any comments, questions? Go ahead, Mr. Chang.
Okay, can you go back to SSC financial projection?
Right there.
Passport. So when we got this data, is that after May revise or before we already get this?
It was shortly after the May revise.
Yeah, so as you know, the 23 to 24 was a very special year. We you know, the entire California, they get high the cholera. So last year when we try to do the budget, so how many percent you project?
So last year for this year, 20.
No, I mean last year you project for 24 to 25.
Oh, much higher than
Yeah,
this.
so then right now, how you adjust to, so because right now, you know, from the 8.22 to 1.07.
Right.
So when we budget for the numbers, so you think how much we will actually will get less?
So 2 May revised presentations ago, I don't know if some of you recall, was that when the governor proposed, right, at that time, 2 years ago, his proposal was mostly on one-time funds, which carried a lot of wisdom at that time because he was anticipating an economic downturn. And now we are in an economic downturn. So at that time, the wisdom of Dr. De La Torre and the school board put aside committed funds, $8 million at that time. So that is helping this microcosm in terms of the budget, but the state level credit also goes to Governor Newsom for not providing school districts. At that time, we were like, oh, there's no pension relief, no this and that. But really, it takes a lot of foresight from elected officials. That's it.
But today, how many retire employee?
8.
Eight. So 8, you probably can have some, next year you have some saving, right? So then you can, I don't know how much you can cover.
But you notice that the PERS and STIRS contributions continue to go up. So I always, caution people, the 1.07% may or may not get fully funded.
Right.
As new money. So you have to look at the fact that the statutory benefits go up and eat into any savings that we have. It's a factor and it's a problem. I mean, if you look at CalPERS, by 27, 28, it's going to be almost 30% just for retirement contributions for a classified employee. That is significant.
And that's in addition to Social Security.
Right. Which is, if you look at what OSDI is, which is Old Age Survivors Disability Insurance, and it's Social Security, that's 6.2% on top of that. And then Medicare is 1.45% on top of that. And we also have to pay work comp contributions and unemployment.
Right.
So it's significant to have to pay that as an employer.
So 2 years ago, we were complaining, oh, there's no pension relief. But if you look at STIRS, which is certificated, there is that pension kind of stabilization.
Yeah.
But
so not with CalPERS.
Not with CalPERS. So the governor's priority 2 years ago was one time. Then he wasn't going to do this perpetual,
right,
funding.
So then can I ask, recognizing this is just the May revise, we still don't know where it's finally going to land. To what extent are we planning alternative scenarios then for where our spending will be and where we can cut spending? As realizing, yes, retirements and then we rehire, we'll also have some cost savings in there. Feedback does not like the idea of cutting spending. But where are we seeing some of those spending cuts and to ensure they're as far away from the student experience as possible?
So, okay, well, when you consider that a significant portion of our budget is in human resources, it's really difficult to make any significant cuts that are away from the classroom.
Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
From the quality of what we provide our students.
That's okay.
Yeah, sorry, let me rephrase.
No problem. So, Mr. Chang pointed out that when we have turnover, there's opportunity for savings because some people who retire may be all the way over and all the way down on the salary schedule. And oftentimes we're able to replace them with somebody who is, starting their teaching career perhaps. Or even somebody with 5 years of experience that we bring in on step 6, there's still going to be a cost savings there. Also, we understand and recognize that low class sizes are a value that this community holds near and dear. And so we're always looking at that, but there may be opportunities for us to absorb certain teaching positions where class sizes are like ridiculously low. And we can look at sections that can be absorbed as well at the secondary. So we are working with our principals, we're working with human resources to try and achieve ongoing cost savings that will help us to mitigate the increase in some of our statutory benefits and the very minimal cost of living allowance that is being given to us by the state. So that's where we are.
We run a very lean budget as it is.
We do.
Is there much room even within that budget to cut? I mean, people like to say cut the fat. I'm like, we don't have much fat to cut.
And we're not planning any layoffs. Again, I want to go back to what Dr. Lynn said. I think the board really did a wonderful thing in committing funds because those one-time monies can only be spent once. They cannot be used and should not be used for ongoing things. And that's, something that we all have heard a million times from School Services of California, from our auditors. I mean, you just don't use one-time money for things that eat and breathe. So with that, we're able to sustain what we have for now in a tough year because we have those committed funds that the board set aside. And if we have to, if there are deferrals come to fruition as an example, we can borrow from ourselves instead of having to go out for a tran, which is not always a great, sometimes you have to do it because you don't have cash flow, but it's not always a great situation. So we are in a solid financial stable situation right now because we were able to set aside one-time monies for specific purposes as opposed to hiring a bunch of people that we're now having to lay off because we no longer have that many. ongoing.
If I may add, if we borrow trends, basically we have to pay a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And the fact that we do have committed funds, we could borrow, from ourselves. The other thing is, we are looking at ways to free up. So Fund 35, last time the board approved, prepaying the COP, Boston Athletic Center by $2.8 million. That's going to save us in terms of general fund. Upwards of $4 million in a span of 17 years. Every little bit helps. Dr. Choi had his final slide, November. The governor is going to is proposing placing a state bond. Now, if we pass a bond, a capital facilities bond, we can get some matching funds. That's money that taxpayers here already pay. So if we don't pass a bond, and let's say a local district passes their bond, our taxpayers basically subsidize their bond. So those factors, we want to maximize revenues, minimize expenditures. So one way is if we could use restricted funds like Fund 35 to pay down and maximize our general fund. Another is if we do get to pass the bond in November locally, we can benefit from more revenues. So we look at it for minimizing the expenditures, maximizing revenues.
Do we have a minimum wage issue or not?
We are,
Certain employee?
we do. So we have a salary schedule, classified employee salary schedule with the minimum wage. The top left-hand corner is not squared. And so as we hire folks that fall within that range, HR has very creatively placed them above the minimum wage or at or above the minimum wage. So we have to meet that legislation. Yes, those requirements.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for the information, Dr. Lin and Dr. Choi, and I look forward to the June report. All right, next, college acceptance presentation. I'd like to invite up to the podium Dr. Wolf, who will deliver a presentation to the board on the 23-24 college acceptance.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Delatorre, and Cabinet. Before I begin, I'd like to inform you all of a significant change that happened this year with FAFSA. So it will explain a little bit of some of the data that you're going to see tonight. So FAFSA went through a redesign this year, which delayed them quite a bit. And so they have pushed back until June. So we do have a very small number of students who have still not made their commitments, about a dozen students, but that's about 5% of our graduating class. They have another week to wait and see what financial resources they may be receiving. And so I think you're going to see that actually the data here is actually really impressive, but it might actually get a little bit better next week as we have some students who then add to our acceptances and some other students who may change their mind and pick even more prestigious universities because they get a larger amount of money than they may have been expecting. So, okay, so I want to start. I have two slides with a lot of the actions that we took this year. And except for the first and last one on this screen, which I can take a little bit of credit for, but the rest was all Ms. Penalora and our counseling staff who did a lot of work this year in getting our students ready for the college application process. And I won't read all of these bullets, but we had more than 40 college reps come and visit the school this year and do presentations. Our counselors spent a lot of time with our students in the essay writing process, in our labs, getting them to work through multiple deadlines to work on really writing some quality essays. And you may recall we talked earlier this year that we found a gentleman who was an alum who offered the first AI college writing program. And we only had a very small number of students this year who were able to take advantage of it because by the time we found each other, many of the applications were already done. But next year, all of our students will have access for free to his program. So we're excited about that. And there you can see some more. We did a lot of information evenings, including one of them that was at La Cañada, which was due to our partnership, which we're excited about because we are talking to them right now about joining a science competition with them, which is something we haven't, I don't think San Maria has done in a while. Okay, this is our attending rates, so you can get an idea of the percentage of students in San Marino of what universities they are attending. If you add these percentages up, they do not total to 100% because we don't have our Cal States in here and the very small number of students who go to international universities, and also the small number of students who decline to tell us where they're going to attend. But this gives you a pretty good idea of the majority of where our students are attending both last year and this year. And you can see UC is a little bit down, but privates are a little bit up. And for the most part, everything else has stayed pretty similar. All right, now these are our acceptance rates. And at first glance of this slide, it may seem negative, but it's actually not. When I show you the next slide, it's going to explain this, and it's really actually very exciting. So when you look at this slide, it does look like UC acceptance rates are down, but that's because of how the number of applications and what the numerator and denominators are. So you can see that acceptance rate of outside of California privates is fairly similar. Acceptance rate of outside of California publics actually went up a little. We had more students applying to some public, some fairly prestigious public universities outside of California. But when you look at the UC rate, that at first looks like, how could that have dropped so much? Until you see this. That is an amazing increase of the number of our students that are reaching possibly beyond where they have in the past. And then so the number of applications is so much higher that you get the acceptance rate that drops a little bit. But overall, our students are attending more than last year. Just that acceptance number is a little bit misleading until you see the number of applications. Same thing for privates. I mean, all of these numbers are way up. So we have students that are applying to more universities, and we have students who are applying to more reaches for them. When I show you the actual UC numbers by campus, I'll explain that a little bit further. So if you take a look at Davis, Davis is a school that has one of the higher UC acceptance rates in the system because it's not the most popular campus. And yet our percentage is lower than you would think San Marino students would do. But that's because for the most part, when you look at Berkeley and UCLA, our students who are applying to those campuses are pretty equal matches to them. They understand what they're applying for and the odds of acceptance. Whereas we had a lot of students who normally would not have applied to a UC school this year that did. And so they applied to some of the schools that they thought they would have a higher chance of getting accepted to. And so you see that we actually have more students actually attending Davis, even though the percentage is lower than the UC acceptance rate. But again, when you look back at the incredible change in the number of applications, that's why you'll see some percentage changes like that. But we actually have more overall acceptances and more overall attendees at all of the top universities this year. And I'm going to give you a smattering of those. And then once all of our data is in next week, I will provide Dr. Delatorre with a list of every single college, even if it's only one acceptance or one application. But for tonight, I'm going to show you a pretty good cross-section of not only some of the most prestigious universities our students have been applying to, accepted to, and attending, but also some of the most popular ones that our students do too. So I didn't include very many universities where maybe only one kid who applied. So this is the one that's the most exciting. Last year, no acceptances to Ivy League universities. This year, 7 acceptances and 3 students who are going to attend, and possibly more when you look at the large number of students on the wait list. And hopefully the amount of money that maybe some of these students may get surprised with maybe the other 4 from the 7 acceptances, maybe we'll get another attending out of it this week. That would be fantastic. And then you can see down below, those are the Ivies that our students were accepted to. University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, Cornell, and Brown. And our 3 students who have committed are Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, and Cornell. And then I will show you very quickly all the rest of these universities. And if you're wondering, they are in the color of the schools. Stanford, again, extremely hard to get accepted to, but we have one acceptance this year compared to last year, which is fantastic. And obviously, we also have more applicants this year. Same thing with Syracuse, more acceptances, and we have an attending. Now, I put these schools together on the same slide as my present for Mrs. Ryan. Notre Dame, we do not get a lot of applications for, but I was really happy to see that more students, double the students that did apply this year. And we did have more USC applications, but not a whole lot more. That stayed fairly similar to last year. Michigan is another one of those really prestigious public out of California universities. And you can see that the applications were up, and we actually have 2 students who are attending this year. They are the reigning college football national champions. I don't know if that had anything to do with the number of applications, but Michigan is a highly regarded public university in the United States. Berkeley is a school that we did extremely well with last year. So this is one of the few ones where there's not really a significant improvement this year. We had a really large number of acceptances to Berkeley last year, and this year, dropped 2, but we added 2 to the waiting list. So we'll see what happens with that next week. Of course, UCLA is obviously one of the most popular and one of the most rigorous institutions that our students can apply to. I'm happy that our acceptances went up by 1 and our attending went up by 1. Tufts, actually not a university that a lot of people consider, but our students do. And I think that's great that we did have 10 applications both years, and we got 2 acceptances this year, even though those students chose other schools. Penn State, another very prestigious out of California public university. And again, look at the number of applications for students dramatically increased, and so did the acceptances. So that's really awesome. I've been on the Penn State campus. It's a beautiful, beautiful school. So I'm excited that some of our students are going to get a chance to experience that. Ohio State, I put that up there. I did not call them the Ohio State University. That is what they call themselves. But we did have double the acceptances this year. Northeastern, of course, is where our own Megan, our student board member, is attending, which is phenomenal. And then look at also the number of fellow San Marino students that not only got accepted, but that will be attending with her, which is awesome. And then a whopping 10 more on the wait list. So she might have another friend or 2 joining her. NYU stayed about the same. Purdue surprised me that we have so many students that apply and attend Purdue, but one of the top engineering programs in the United States. And then, of course, Caltech, which is one of the hardest institutions to get into in the world. And so it's exciting that we do have an acceptance this year. Duke also surprised me that I didn't know that a lot of Southern California students would be interested in Duke. It's a phenomenal university. And we did have more applications this year and an acceptance. And then the last one, Wellesley, which is an extremely prestigious women's college. And even though it's such a small number, I thought it was such a unique school that I would put that on the list. And we did have an acceptance and an attending. So that ought to be an amazing experience, because that's one of really the most historic universities in the United States. So again, that was kind of a mix of some of the data, but I will have a list of every single university for you next week. And we are also running a lot of this data in the newspaper to brag about the wonderful places that all of our students are going to. And that's it. That concludes my report.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are there any comments, questions?
I just have one. Do you have an idea of what percentage of our students who are planning on attending a community college with intent to transfer?
So the community college number was actually on there, although we don't know the intent to transfer. My guess from all of my conversations this year is it's 100%. I have not really heard any student who said that they're their goal was just to receive an associate's degree, although there's a lot of wonderful opportunities for students now that are doing associate's programs, especially in things related to more CTE. But I would still be surprised if that number wasn't close to 100%. But the actual percentage who are planning on attending community college is 22.2% this year.
And then any military colleges?
We did not have any this year. We had a couple of international universities.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Ben.
you.
That was a great presentation, and we look forward to hearing more as you get the information to come in. The next item we have is action item. I'd like to turn it over to Rick and Jomei from LPA, and they will present the facilities master plan to the board for approval. The approval of the facilities master plan will present and then to the board for approval. This is an action item.
I think just summarize, just.
Yeah.
Thank you again, members of the board, staff, superintendent, Dr. Delatorre. Yes, as we gave you in closed session or in the earlier session, overview of the entire master plan. We're very proud of the work that, as Jomei mentioned, we were literally facilitators, and the document that we distributed earlier today is a representation of all the great work that came out of all the massive amount of stakeholders within the district. So we think it's a really good document that represents all the needs in the district, and it was based on both, as you know, need to improve the schools from basic functioning, but also from an educational standpoint to bring the schools up to a place now where it can match and be able to support the students for 21st century and next generation education. So hopefully we brought you up to speed on what's in the document, and we'd be happy to answer any more questions you may have tonight.
And we're seeking the Board of Education's approval and adoption of the plan.
I move to approve for the.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. And with that, I'd like to do a roll call vote. You have a
I
question?
just have one question. On what would a presentation be without a question from me? Okay, so on background for guiding principles, strategic plan, guiding principles, background, there's mention of a school site design committee. I don't know what that means.
Yes.
That's different from the school site committees that was used for the FMP, right?
Yeah, so typically, when funding comes available and, we know what projects are on, coming down the line or are on the list, then typically we see districts will formulate a school site design committee, right? Where you involve like the potential stakeholders, it could be the principal, it could be that same committee they had or a new committee, or just in terms of stakeholders that would be involved in this decision-making in, for example, the design of the actual campus or project. Like, for example, the gym here at Huntington, right? I'm sure there was a committee that was formed, and they provide feedback on, for example, design options that are presented then.
So this would be something during the implementation phase.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you can definitely involve, the Citizens Oversight Committee and all these other committees as well.
Thank you. So I have a motion on the floor. Did you want me to do the roll call first? Or you
yeah.
okay? Or did you want to talk first?
Roll call first. Yeah.
Roll call first. All right, so the motion was made by Mr. Chang, seconded by Mrs. Gill. Roll call vote in terms of an action item. Mrs. Lam? Aye. Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. And so the motion has been approved for the facilities master plan. Mr. Chang, you had some comment?
Well, I just like to appreciate, the facility advisory committee chair, Mr. Morris. Yeah.
Woo-hoo! Go Jeff!
This is not an easy job, it's a whole year. And secondly, the LPA, both of you, I feel better for this master plan than the last time. Yeah, I think this time, it's very detailed. The only reason we just need the cash. prioritize.
So
But this give me the idea, so then the what we need to do about, but everything is a money talk. Yeah, just wish for we can get to the second stage.
So Jeff, thank you so much on behalf of the board for your tireless work throughout year and a half and for seeing us through and supporting it. And I know that you're available to support us the rest of the journey. And so, Mr. Chang, you already discussed an item, right? So do you have anything else to add? We're closing right now.
Well, I also like to appreciate for executive team, Dr. Lin and Dr. Choi and others. Yeah, I think this process actually is not easier. Yeah, finally, yeah, today we can conclude for this project. Yeah.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Lin and Dr. Choi and the rest of the executive team, Jennifer Delatorre, is there anyone else? Okay, I already got Ben and ETA. Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
And also our board member.
Our board member, thank you so much. All right. With that, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, did you have any other discussion item?
I just like to apologize for my incessant coughing. I'm so sorry. I don't know what has come over me, but yeah. I apologize for that.
Good.
Accepted.
All right.
Mr. Chang, you have any? No?
Not
That's
All right. So I'd like to adjourn the meeting. It is just before, is it just before 10? 9:35? Okay. Meeting is adjourned.